February 10, 1914. With peace in our hearts, with light in our minds, we feel Thee, O Lord, so living within us, that we await events with serenity, knowing that Thy path is everywhere, since we carry it in our own being, and that in all circumstances we can become the heralds of Thy word, the servitors of Thy work. With a calm and pure devotion, we hail Thee and recognize Thee as the sole reality of our being. February 11, 1914. As soon as one rises above the perception of contingencies, as soon as one's consciousness is identified with Thy supreme consciousness, and one enters thus into that omniscience which I cannot define except as absolute knowledge. How easy and even a little childish seem all those problems about what should or should not be done, about all the resolutions to be taken. From the standpoint of the eternal work, the one thing important is to become conscious of Thee, to identify oneself with Thee, and to maintain that conscious identification constantly. But as to what best use can be made of our physical organism, Thy mode of manifestation upon earth, it is quite enough when Thou alone art conscious within us, to turn the gaze to the body in order to know beyond all doubt what is the best thing it can do, what activity will most fully utilize all its energies. And without attaching much importance to that activity, that altogether relative utilization, one can take without any difficulty any inner debate, decisions which to the outer consciousness appear the boldest and most dangerous. How simple everything is for him who sees all things from the height of Thy eternity. I hail Thee, O Lord, with a joyful and trusting devotion. May the peace of Thy divine love be with all beings. February 12, 1914. When, conscious with Thy supreme consciousness, one considers all earthly circumstances, one sees their complete relativity and says, to do this thing or that, after all, that is not of much importance. Yet, a particular mode of action will be the best utilization of a certain faculty, a certain temperament. All actions, whatever they may be, even the most contradictory in appearance, can be an expression of Thy law to the extent that they are infused with the consciousness of that law, which is not a law of practical application, that can be translated into principles or rules in the ordinary human consciousness, but a law of attitude, of a constant and prevailing consciousness, something that cannot be expressed in formulas, but may be lived. But as soon as one falls back into the ordinary consciousness, nothing should be treated lightly and with indifference. The least circumstances, the smallest acts have a great importance and should be seriously considered, for we must try at every moment to do that which will make the identification of our consciousness with the eternal consciousness easy, and avoid carefully all that could be an obstacle to this identification. It is then that the rules of conduct, having as their foundation perfect personal disinterestedness, should find their full value. With peace in my heart, with light in my mind, the hope born of certitude in all my being, I greet Thee, O Lord, Divine Master of eternal love. Thou art the reason of our existence and our goal. February 13, 1914. In the silence of an intense concentration, I would unite my consciousness with Thy absolute consciousness. I would identify myself with Thee, O Sovereign Lord of our being, Divine Master of love, so that Thy law may become clear and perceptible to us, and we may live only by it and for it. How beautiful, grand, simple, and calm everything is in the hours when my thought takes its flight to Thee and unites with Thee. And from the day it becomes possible for us to keep this supreme clear-sightedness constantly, with what an airy and yet sure step we shall walk through life above all obstacles and unhesitatingly. For this I know through experience. All doubt, all hesitation ceases the very moment one is conscious of Thy law. And if one perceives clearly the extreme relativity of all human action, one knows at the same time, with exactitude and precision, which action is the least relative in regard to one's body and one's own way of acting, and all obstacles really vanish as if by magic. All our efforts, O Lord, will henceforth be bent on an ever more constant realization of this marvelous state. May the peace of Thy certitude awaken in every heart. February 14, 1914. Translation by Sri Aurobindo. Peace, peace upon all the earth. May all escape from the ordinary consciousness and be delivered from the attachment for material things. May they awake to the knowledge of Thy divine presence, unite themselves with Thy supreme consciousness, and taste the plenitude of peace that springs from it. Lord, Thou art the sovereign master of our being. Thy law is our law, and with all our strength we aspire to identify our consciousness with Thy eternal consciousness, that we may accomplish Thy sublime work in each thing and at every moment. Lord, deliver us from all care for contingencies. Deliver us from the ordinary outlook on things. Grant that we may henceforth see only with Thy eyes and act only by Thy will. Transform us into living torches of Thy divine love. With reverence, with devotion, in a joyful consecration of my whole being, I give myself, O Lord, to the fulfillment of Thy law. Peace, peace upon all the earth.